everyone. My name is Rhea Waller. I teach at Fresno City College, and I'd like to present also my co-presenter.
Hello, I'm Rick Gonzalez, and yeah, I'm a software engineer and also an instructor and working on the AI project at Fresno City College.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, that's right. I teach. Did I say that? I don't know if I said
Forgot about
that.
that.
I've been in the technology field for more years than I'd care to share, but let's just say it's two digits. And I'm way excited. Before we get started, though, I'd like to just take a moment to thank everything that came together to deliver Rick and I to this moment, because there's been a lot. And just in general in life, being grateful for all that delivers us to the places that we are in our life, right? There's just so much, like everything from the food that I ate this morning to this amazing house that I live in. I'm so grateful. And I'm really grateful for a phone that, when dropped in the tub in the morning, actually turns off the USB to save itself. We live in a crazy, wonderful world. And I've been working I taught machine learning before it was a thing, meaning before many people really knew. And by the way, if you don't know, machine learning is really the basis from which we create LLMs and therefore the experiences that we often have. So your chat is going to be really important to us today, because we're not really here to talk so much about concepts. We're actually here to give you a practical demo of a product that exists in the world. Rick, anything you want to say before we dive in?
No, I think that's pretty good intro. Great
Yeah,
job.
right? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so what we're gonna present to you today is actually a product that is being used actively. And we are way excited to present it to you in a very practical, usable, and hands-on, if that's a foreshadowing of what's about to come, way. But let me just say this right off the bat. We gave this presentation 2 weeks ago in our Flex Day here at Fresno City College. And I made a joke at the beginning of that presentation that I asked, hey, who has heard of AI Canvas.chat, right? What's behind me here? The AI powered learning assistant. Has anybody heard of that? And I kind of gave the audience a little bit of time, and right. It's like, yeah, so, and then I made the joke, like, it's, you put AI on anything and it's just valued at amazing amounts. Like, we were joking that it just was valued at $60 million. And Rick, what was your line to this?
I believe it was actually the valuation went up and
Oh,
it was a
okay.
65. Yeah.
65 million. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a joke. This is not true. This product is not out there being valued by anyone except those of us who use it, and in this case, those of us who built it. Rick and I built the product that you're about to see. And we couldn't be more nervous and excited for you to check it out, because it's been a labor of love. Now, don't get me wrong, we were funded by the grant from the
CT.
state of California for ZTC, zero textbook costs, with the embraces really the idea of OER. And our specific discipline is just web development. We were vested to create ZTCs for our program, which we are 95% there. But along the way, we created something that is now, we think, has appeal at a larger population beyond the technology skill-based classes. And so we're going to actually show you the product, okay? But first, any questions just about that? I see people are still talking about the presentation and the way it looks. Cool, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of fun to do something different. I mean, this actually, the way you're looking at this is more along the lines of what we would use OBS or some other kind of higher end, sophisticated television like podcast. I mean, there's just so many ways to do this, but I think this is hopefully fun for you to see. But was there any questions in there before we get started? Anything you want? But first, right? I mean, I know I've already kind of talked about a lot. It's like I haven't even AI powered learning assistant, right? So this is integrated into Canvas. So what we want to do today is really spend the bulk of our time showing you the product. So let's just jump in because I don't have any questions right now. Okay, so
Um,
go ahead.
Before
Go
you
ahead.
jump in,
Yeah, go ahead.
can everyone still see the screen? Because I know I'm talking to some people here that is there any other problems with the screens? I think I talked with Lisa. But yeah,
They can't see it?
any other problems? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not in the chat, so yeah.
we still can see you and then the first page of your
Yeah.
AI powered learning assistant.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Rick and I were on screen and then I switched over to share. So he's not there right now. He'll be back in a minute, but he's in the chat and in the other window. I think you should see him there, but you can see the AI canvas.chat in the background, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So now, by the way, and I should ask this, how many of you use Canvas for your LMS? And I'm guessing most of you, but just throw it out there. How many of you use? Yeah. Yep. Good. Good. Okay. Cool. Sounds like, at least for the ones that I've seen, most of you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move from this tab, which we'll come back to my Canvas tab. And in here is a sandbox course that we play with, the product that we're going to show you today. So this is a Canvas assignment, just like our typical Canvas stuff. We have discussions, we have assignment, we have quizzes, right? We have all the things that Canvas offers us, and then the third-party integrations that's also offered to us for whatever maybe publisher platform. But for the OER ZTC, right, we're really targeting the idea of how can we leverage either existing open educational resources or create, right, ZTC based on our own content. And Rick and I had this moment. We've been working on this grant since last December. And we had this moment where we were like, well, an LLM is really ZTC. It is really OER. It's just a matter of how you try to present it, right? Now, I know some of you will probably disagree with that because you're like, well, it's not always right. True, it's not always correct. It doesn't always give you the correct answer. Absolutely, right? But what we decided and what my vision was when I got on this grant was the idea that if you've seen what is happening at Khan Academy, and if you are somebody who follows the CS50 out of Harvard from David Malan, I really got inspired by what they were creating. And they, of course, had much larger teams. In Khan Academy's case, they were actually working with OpenAI directly. So we didn't have those types of resources, but I knew we could create something. And Rick and I spent first 2 months just looking at all the tools that were out there. And then we happened upon the Feynman method. And the Feynman method is really just a prompt. And I'm guessing most of you have used one of these Gen AI systems and written prompts, right? But I found, and this is kind of funny where I found it, which was Reddit. And in Reddit, I found a prompt that was really wonderful for helping a person learn. And so in this Canvas shell, what you're going to see is the evolution of what we've created. But the basic idea is this before I jump in. You set up an assignment in Canvas. You craft a prompt, okay? That prompt then, and whatever context you provide it, and we could definitely, I'm going to try not to get too technical, but as technical as you want me to be about what that means and what that looks like today. But in that case that you craft a prompt, then your student takes that content, interacts with it at a lower level called an API level. And then once you have set up the determinations of once that conversation's over, that assignment, meaning that log of that student's chat, is submitted into Canvas for your review. I'm going to stop there for just a second to see if there's any basic questions before I actually show you. And maybe it's like you just want me to show you what this is, but I wanted to describe it. Sounds cool. Oh, okay. We definitely would share some of the prompts. I mean, the prompts are actually kind of what I think. See, I'm going to try to stay calm and not too excited. The prompt and learning how to write these prompts is really, for me, has been so great of an experience because I mean, I've been around tech for, again, more years than I'd like to say. And watching AI and and the fire hose that is AI and the changes that are, by the way, AI has got to become profitable at some point. Right now it's not, for it to continue at the pace it's at, but there's hopes and dreams, right? So it's a log of their interaction. Yes, that's right. I will show you that today. Okay. All right. So here is here's just 4 assignments. But if I scroll, and again, this is our sandbox. Rick and I have been playing. Like Rick has one, and Rick's really cute. He's actually more than this. This is the one he likes about dolphins that I think we'll get to. Then we had another instructor, which, by the way, we had a test group last semester go through and use it. They use it for AI and cybersecurity. We actually broke it down into just exploration, general, Feynman approach. So this is really the prompts, right? This is how we write. We've figured out how to write prompts. And then this is something I worked on, which was a single problem and then multiple problem, textbook tutor. I mean, there's quite a few examples already. And we have, because we just presented at our Flex Day, we have now another group on campus that want to start testing this. Rick, anything you want to add before I jump into the first example?
Yeah, I think when they mentioned, I hope you'll be sharing some prompts, right? Shelley mentioned that. I think Rio scrolled down where there was like a lot of the sample prompts that we're working on and different kind of methodologies behind those prompts, right? So we've come up with different kinds of styles. A lot of teachers have come up with styles, different methods of their own. So we've been trying to like curate that and put them together. So like, maybe even later on we can like even expand it further to like other canvases and maybe even share this course or share those parts of those modules or something like that.
Yeah. This product is still in test phase, but I can't actually say that. We're actually in production phase, meaning like for my course that I'm teaching right now that I actually graded this morning, I have students actively using this product and their feedback is coming in. And for the most part, it's cool. They actually really enjoy it, it seems. There's definitely we're hitting some technical integration issues, not about necessarily the way we wrote it, but the campus and other issues. But let's go ahead and get started. So for this first one, here's an assignment, right? So if I go into the assignment, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through here, this is what we would term an exploration chat assignment, right? You're going to go through a series of chat. Actually, I forgot to update the content here, but that's okay. So, but we're going to go through a series of chat to help you learn about a topic. The topic we're going to learn about today is what is Gen AI, okay? And then review the steps you're going to go through when you're ready to click, right? Start the assignment, and after you're done with the steps, you'll hit submit. So in this case, we have our first prompt with our button, which you're going to see in a minute. And I'm just going to take a moment here because once we move into the actual chat, translating what's here in Canvas to what you see just takes a moment, okay? So then the student would, in this case, and here's the Feynman approach that we found on Reddit, okay? So I'm not going to read all of it, but the idea here is you're creating a prompt that really creates the curiosity, right? Let's discuss a topic or concept that I'm curious about. And when it says I'm here, it's actually acting as this, right, the student, because in other words, when you're putting a prompt in and the student hits the button called introduction that you'll see, this is the prompt that gets sent to OpenAI underneath. Okay, not directly. And this is where we were very aware of PPI. We did not want to send students' personal information over to OpenAI. But you can read this, and then once they've interacted, and this is where, as the instructor, I would have some kind of rubric where they would then say maybe how many interactions I would want them to have on the first topic, right? And what I've noticed in my students who are working on similar assignments is they actually want to interact more than I require them to because they're enjoying the conversation, which I find wonderful. So then we'll take a deeper dive. And then the last question or the last prompt is, did I learn? Okay. So we're ready. And now we're going to actually open. Now we've moved out of Canvas. We're actually in now the thing that Rick built. So this is the UI that Rick built for our students to actually now, and they have to provide a student ID. Now, we could talk about why this is the case, and we're working on a better integration with Canvas. It's just technology infrastructure issues, but for today, we actually have an ID for this conference. So we'll go ahead and log in. And in this case, we have a disclaimer so the student knows, right? And it actually will show them that, hey, this is you, this is who you're working. Like, we want you to know that, right? The academic integrity is here. And so then we also want them to know that their sessions are going to be saved. Now, again, this is only between once the student submits the assignment, right? It is then put into Canvas. We do not keep track of that. Okay, that's not right now keep being kept track of. And so they hit agree. And so now, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because I have my screen kind of big because I want you to see that those things we saw over here in Canvas then get sent to the setup, but now we have a button, okay? So now when this is clicked, now we send that prompt over to open AI via under a API level call. And here's what the chat bot, in this case, the generative AI, in this case, chat GPT underneath OpenAI says, right? Generative AI gives them some information, right? To start, what do you think the key differences between generative AI and traditional AI is, right? And in this case, I might be a student who says, I don't know, right? This is where this customization of the student's interaction then sets the tone for the rest of the conversation. So the AI is giving them some more information, right? And so again, the student, and I've tried to, in the prompt, make this more concise, right? Because sometimes you see and you will see this in any chat bot, just a flood of data go by, right? Right. And then it's asking, why do you think it's possible to generate things you feel, ooh, interesting question. What role do you think data and learning play in this process? And I would say, such a good question. Thank you. Right. And this is the other thing, right? And my students have said this. They really love how friendly it is. Because here's the deal. The reason we sometimes as faculty get frustrated about these chatbots is they just want to be helpful. They want to give the answers. And part of what we want to do, and you'll see this in a next evolution of this that I've been using now, is I actually have to very clearly in the prompt tell it, don't give it a specific answer that I want them to answer. But in this case, this is exploratory. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of simulate the idea of a deeper dive, right? And so in this case, the student now, by the way, if you didn't know, right? So they have to go through these in sequence coming back here, right? So they do the first one, this is the prompt that's sent. They do the second one, this is the prompt that's sent, boom, 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 right? And so watch what happens, right? Now, again, the idea here is, and I'm not going to actually take the time to do what the student would do. I think you get the idea, and if you don't, please ask. But then the last in this particular assignment is, did I learn? And this is where we kind of switch from the AI asking questions or the AI answering your questions or interacting to saying, hey, did I learn based on what you would think? Right. So we're now kind of switching the table a little bit, right? And notice though what came up. Now we have that final step, which is submit the assignment. Even if we don't have, we could use the general prompt pieces. Yeah, sure, for sure. Mm-hmm. You sure could. Absolutely. Good question. So in this case, now, please keep asking, right? I would submit. And so what happens is they get a little what we call toast message. The toast message is basically gathering all that chat log session. And now, oh, and by the way, at this point, they can no longer interact with it. And we're working on just closing the tab or telling them we're closing the tab. And now when I'm back in Canvas, when I come back to my course, then I see an assignment. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can just see it because my resolution is so high, which is this assignment. And so here's the log. Kind of waiting to see if you got or if you have questions here. So this is the app. This is the app we're using. This is the idea of, setting up prompts for our particular students. This is an exploratory one. We're going to move in a minute. And matter of fact, maybe Rick will do his and we can, because we are at 11:40 and we're here till 11:15. But any questions about what you just saw? Go ahead, Rick. You're muted.
Yeah, I think Shelly mentioned a pretty good question. Like, so even if we don't have the cool platform, right? Could we still use the general prompt pieces to have the students iterate? Is that possible? So pretty much like, could you recreate this in ChatGPT? Does that make sense for you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we could because that prompt is really the key, right? You have to give them here's and by the way, in ChatGPT, you can also set up that first prompt, right? But you would want to get there's various ways you could do that. Totally various ways you could do that. Really like the idea of building more assignments that have students interfacing. And yeah, absolutely. Agree. Completely agree on our side as well. Rick, you want to show one or you want to chat about anything or you want me to move on? What do you want to do?
I guess we can open it. Do you want to open up to the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
public?
Let's do
Like,
that.
would
Shall we
anyone
do
want
that?
to? Yeah, any questions? What would
Shall
you
we?
like to see a little bit, or like, where would you want to go with this? Yeah, I would think that'd be kind of
When
fun.
might this be available for non-FCC faculty? We wondered that. We wondered if that question was going to come up today. Um. So right now we're still in again coming out of testing. I have production, meaning I'm actually using it in the classroom. Rick's used it in the classroom. We hope that by the end of this semester, we're going to have, because now, again, I have a whole other set now of FCC faculty want to see it. I hope by the end of semester, we have the ability. But the key is, and this is kind of where I was sad that people thought my joke about the 60 million, this isn't really intended to be open sourced. But you have to have somebody on your campus that has the knowledge to be able to implement, because there's pieces of it, what we call the technology stack here that you would need to implement. Again, not that they're necessarily hard. It's just, and I'm struggling right now to get our campus to understand what parts they need to pay for, which they're not yet, but we're getting there. So I don't have an answer. But because it's ZTC, it's OER, I mean, we are really working in the open, what we would refer to as the open source space, right? We want to share what Rick and I have created. Rick, go ahead and jump in here.
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, yeah, we're gonna share the link at some point, real, right? So
Mhm.
that
Sure.
so for the chat
Yeah,
that
let's do that.
the
I'll do that
assignment
now
that
while
we
you're chatting.
share,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so the assignment that we share, please send us, yeah, your all your contact information, and Rio is gonna talk about how we can use that. So I don't know if that's a good time to do it after
Yeah,
I.
actually, it might be a really good time right now to do that. Yeah.
And yeah, but yeah, basically, like, definitely talk, because we could open source this in a way. We had to talk about how, I mean, well, we are, but I'm saying like ZZT is about open source and everything else, right? So, but the big thing about, yeah, there's a lot of infrastructure, and maybe talking to us, we can talk to some of your developers. or like see who we can get in contact with, those kinds of things. We even have SSO for some people that are more technical. We do have a SSO version of this, but right now we're using like a different version of platform where you use your SISID. So sorry to get too technical there, but if you're interested, definitely Real shared the link, and I'll let her talk from here.
Yeah. Shelly said they got a message that the server IP could not be found. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there because I'm actually on the site right now. It might be your local. Somehow it's been, and actually, don't you do no follow on the host? Would that cause that issue? Anyway, let me go back and share and show you what you now could do while Rick takes a look at that. Okay. So I've put our site, our website into the chat right now, and you can go to it. Okay. And so if you scroll, and I'm going to increase the size here of my window. Oh, right. You can do, how was it created? Boom, Rick and I. But if you scroll down, which by the way, good, I think we have some good content here that should follow up with what we talked about today. But if you scroll to the bottom, we've given you a chance to actually interact with our application. Yay! Okay. Okay, maybe we're excited. All right. So here's the deal. Okay. So I've added my name to learn more already. Wow. Already ahead. That's amazing. I love it. Okay.
I
So
love
if
it too.
you
I'm
if
getting your
you
emails down just so
right.
everyone knows I'm doing that.
So your login here, right? So if you go to here, right? If you go to our site and scroll to the bottom, you'll see start chat assignment. And this is really where we gathered the content for the app. And when it comes up, you can use the demo-SLO user name. Again, this is like what a student would do, right? Agree, agree, and now you come to the prompt, right? And so now you can ask it questions, right? So this is, again, the idea of like using what we just showed you, right? Okay, so hello, and it welcomes you, right? And it says, what is this app? And so it's going to answer questions for you, right? So you can ask questions of the app. I know we're having some questions there. And then, so then you can say, right? How was it created? Right? And then it talks about how it was created by Rick and I, right? And then if you were interested, you'd say contact the team. And then the thing would ask you for, right? Like, I'm not going to submit it, but you can, right? My email, my campus, if you want to provide it, right? And then once you hit submit assignment, like a student would do, then that is actually submitted to us in our Canvas shell so we could take a look at it. And I know I'm probably right over the submit, but it's right there. Rick, do you know what the issue, why they can't get in?
I have no idea. I took
Okay.
off the HTTPS. um,
Okay. Yeah, I should, you know what I forgot to do at the beginning? And this is why this has happened. I forgot to pray to the demo gods. We didn't pray to the demo gods. And if you don't pray to the demo gods, if you know this term in technology, then it's bound to fail.
yeah,
It's just
last
what
week I
happened.
didn't pray, and that's
Yeah,
why my
it's what
Docker is
happened,
still
right?
broken.
Oh. But anyway, you can also do it here. I think Rick's capturing. Was anybody able to successfully get in and walk through it? Do you know? I don't have permission to view or respond to the form. Hmm. Oh, the
Oh,
form.
if you're
Okay,
clicking
so
on the
let's,
form,
yeah. So
oh, right.
this is actually for our FCC faculty. They actually have to log in. So that's why we put these above. So these two right here, start chat assignment is really what you want to be interacting with. Yeah, if you're getting that permission, that's because we go off the SSO, single sign-on, and that's why. So go up and then do it there if you want. Okay.
That's yeah. I was wondering about that. That makes
Yeah.
sense now because I was
Yeah,
like,
now it makes
oh,
sense.
that's
Yeah.
you would get that error if you
Yeah.
try to click
Oh,
on
good.
test.
Oh,
Okay.
good. So somebody got in and was able to use, and you saw what the ID was. Okay, cool. So we'd still have about it's 10, 25 minutes here. And so we do have a couple other demos we'd like to show you, but if there are questions, we'd love to answer them as well. Are there any questions, Rick, specifically beyond the technical challenge that we had there?
Shelly, did you get in by any chance, or are you still having problems?
Sorry, no, I wasn't able. I still get the IP server no matter what browser I try. It's possible work is blocking it.
Yeah,
I'll try it.
that's my
Oh,
guess. That's my
right.
guess.
So yeah.
We're gonna leave the temporary log on here, but yeah, if you just give us the information. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Demo dash SLO for the
Yeah, good
login.
job.
This is a temporary thing. We just kind of wanted to give you the experience of using our concept in a non-educational but educational way. And you know, as geeks, we were just spending more time doing this than we were thinking about. But this to me is what we wanted to demonstrate. Whatever you want to provide to us, right? Like what level of interest, what would you like to know more about? Okay, you want to see other demos. That sounds good.
Cool,
Rick,
cool.
you want me to do mine or you want to do yours or what do you want to do? I'm cool either way.
I'm cool either way either as well. Do you want to just show yours for now?
Okay,
I'm
we're
working on
good.
the chat to make
Yeah,
sure that
okay,
people
sounds
are
good.
doing
Sounds
their
good.
thing.
I just didn't want to hog up the demo.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one I want to show you, next one, and in this sense, this is an evolution. This list of assignments here, okay, is an evolution of the product for us. And so I teach databases, so I actually had it also create a data set and a relational entity relationship diagram. If you don't know databases, don't worry about that. But then I created this assignment, which I was a tutor me assignment. And what this is, and here's my prompts. You can first see it's a larger prompt. And this is where my students needed to take a word problem and write SQL to solve that word problem, right? And you can see, right? Make sure, don't give me the SQL, right? Because this is a common thing, students. And again, the AI model would want to give it the answer. It just wants to be helpful. It's the way it is set up, it's the way it's trained, it's the way it is just from the company's perspective. They want you to have that friendly experience. But for our students, we want them to learn, right? This is, to me, critical. So I'm not going to go through all this. Again, this is just the idea. But once we start the chat here, right, this is a different interaction, okay? So, and this is actually highlighting the idea of what Rick is programmed in, because basically when you set up these assignments, there's just certain things we have to have the instructor set up in order for this to work. So Rick's done a wonderful job of giving the heads up, because as an instructor, you might think about how would I do this? Well, once you set up your first assignment, you basically copy it, change some things that it needs as far as your assignment number and the way, and Rick's put things behind the flag, like we don't allow, or we have a flag, so to speak, to where students couldn't copy and paste. Because imagine they're trying to go out and answer a question that we've asked, right? And they're like, I'll go to Chat GPT. Now, by the way, could they still? Sure. But they actually have to type it, which to me creates a bit of a barrier. And them typing it from there actually, in my opinion, is a layer of learning, right? A type of learning. Okay, so here we go, right? So here's the assignment, a lot of context. Let's get started. Oh, I hit it too many times. It actually freaked it out. Oh, man, it freaked out on my mouse. I think my mouse freaked out a little bit. I must have a low mouse. Okay, let's do this one time. There we go. Okay, got it. Okay. So now what the AI did, in this case, I sent it the prompt, I sent it all the information that it needs, and now it's giving the student, all right, understand the goal, identify the key information. You want Latin long, this is part of what they're needing to do, right? It gives examples, right? Determine how to display, break it down, right? Even gave them some hints as far as what they would use. So a common thing I would see a student doing was give me, not just, but give me the SQL, right? And here's the deal. I understand, and this is what the AI says, because I've prompted it to do this. I understand the temptation, but my role is to guide you, not to give you the SQL directly. Writing it yourself is an essential part. So basically what we're trying to do is say, let's take this amazing idea of an LLM, of a generative AI, and kind of bend it to, and I say bend here, to our will, because it is hard to bend it to the will. But in general, you can see in this example, it helped, right? And now what if the student says, please? What does it do? I understand, again, that you're asking for the query. But I want to emphasize that practicing writing the query yourself is essential. So you get it, right? And again, it's reiterating, here's what you need to do. Here's the problem solving, because it's just normal, okay? So that is an assignment I had a lot of success with, because my students taking my database class needed to be able to take a word problem, like in this case, the word problem that they were working on. I mean, I don't have to show it to you, but here's the database schema. I'm just looking for the word problem, but I don't think that's important for this context. But does that example flesh out any questions?
Well, Shelly mentioned she really liked the guardrails, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
Um, she also mentioned about the Poe chatbot, and so that's a whole the Poe.
Okay.
I don't know if you know anything. Yeah, but yeah, we're just
I don't know anything about that one.
yeah, but Poe is like about GPT. So I think there's a difference
Okay.
between what we're doing, but I'll let you go. Sorry, I'm in the
No,
chat.
no, no. All good. All good. Okay. Now I want to show you my latest iteration. Okay. So again, this is an evolution. This latest evolution is going to look different. Only not in the sense here. I actually show the students, I give them a video for here's how you interact, because it is not a normal assignment. And the thing my students are saying right now that I very much appreciate is how friendly and how much they like interacting. Because normally, as an example, you're about to see this, because I have then in this week, I got to slow down. I get way too excited here. In this first assignment for these students, I call this a weekly review. And this is where, to me, because I provide the students quite a bit of weekly content, especially in this course, it's a 9-week compressed course. And what I am always concerned about is that by the end of the week, they have forgotten some of the stuff we taught them at the beginning. How well did they comprehend? Again, student learning outcomes. How well are they grasping those concepts that we find very important? So what I did is I took all of the content I had for that week. And what I did is I set up my prompt to actually have it interact with the students, and the students have to answer 10 questions correctly. Now, what this means is if they answer one incorrectly, they get another one. It's not like your traditional quiz, okay? And if they get it partially right, it'll give them some credit and it encourages them, okay? And here's the instruction that I'm giving to them, okay? Important notes on a mobile, submit the assignment, right? Follow the prompt order. Very important here, right? So I gave them some instruction and then they have to come and submit the assignment. What you don't see on this assignment is the actual content that I created. And this is something Rick and I are actively working on doing better, but right now we've just put it behind. So where I don't need them to see that, right? Because it's just too much content and really it's not the idea. So I'm going to start the chat assignment here. I'm going to enter my ID. Okay, agree, agree. All right. I'm going to pull out just a little bit here, right? So now this content covers my syllabus, my week 0 and my week 1 content. So I actually created week 0 and a week 1. And so here's what they have to do. They have to answer 10 questions correctly, and they have to ask 5 questions. I love this format. This was the format I came up with after a lot of testing to get the best response from the prompt. And for the students, remember too, I said this before, this based on student question then is customized to their level of question answering. right? So that's another thing, again, the SLO, right? The idea of a student learning outcome, because students come at different levels to us. And so the AI being able to respond, and I heard a little bit of this in the previous session I got to drop in on about that idea that it can respond to their level. You see this in this exercise, okay? All right, so let's get started, right? I'll ask you questions based on the content. Track how long it takes to answer the question. Now, in this case, it just gives them a few extra points if they answer quickly. And I recommend to my students they actually take this multiple times. What's the due date for the attendance post? Monday. Let's say if I just put Mon instead of Monday, it gets it. I don't like students, like when we give, you guys know this, gals know this, when we give tests, we want precise, right? That's why we do multiple choice. Oh, I gotta calm down. What's the weighted percentage of the final project? 25. Again, I didn't say percent, but it figured it out. What's the deadline? March something. And again, I didn't even close, right? So did it give you the point? I didn't see if it gave me the point. What platform are we using for coding in this code space? Close, GitHub. Okay, so that's where understanding the difference between, so these reviews that they're doing, 5%. Again, I didn't do the percentage, it knew what I was saying. Now watch what happens, and goes back to what we showed before. If the student, because once they get to 10, the AI is going to say, hey, now you can ask questions, but let's try to ask questions right now. Nice try. I love this, okay? But let's focus on the correct questions, right? What's the ID? VS Code. So it keeps them on track, right? Right? Close, not quite. Code space, right? It's built in there. Okay, that's semantics. Actually, should have gave them that one, right? What do the day are typically due? Monday and Thursday. Correct. So now I'm up to 8. Any questions that you want to ask me while I do this? Rick?
No, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like we're still replying. There's a DM feature that I had no idea. So this is the first time I'm like, oh, yes, I'm answering your questions directly. Okay.
But it's good to have, unless they're not comfortable, good to have them so everybody sees them, because that might be a question somebody else has. As
Yeah,
teachers, we know this, right? What percentage of the grade? 20% maybe? Yeah, right on, right? Fantastic. Only 4 more to go, right? What is the folder name for IMG? Correct, right? So again, going over content. Oh, what's the census date? I don't know. I should know the census date, right? Oh, February 3rd. So again, it's going right off the content for my syllabus. What's the weighted percentage for the attendance? 5%. Right, correct. Question 13. So we're at question 13. They needed to answer 10. So that means I've missed a couple, which is no big deal. What tool? Whatever is on your system. Oh, close, not quite. Oh, nice. What online platform? Oh, Discord. Okay, one more. Okay, what's the name of the instructor? Nice, Ria Waller. Yeah, that's me, right? So now, notice what's happened, right? I'll assume now remember ask questions button, right? So now they move to the ask questions, right? I guess it already went by. All right, so now I could say, can I submit late work? Yep, you sure can, but I do offer passes. Boom, 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 boom. Is web development a good paying job? Now, this question is not in my content, but this is the wonderful thing because we're sending it this big context window of my content. But if my question comes outside of that, my meaning the student, the AI will go out and grab content. Now, you may not like the content it grabs, and you want to review it. And this is actually the other cool thing about this is you can see what the AI is telling the students. And in my review, I can try to say, oh, you know what? I don't think that was the best answer, but also helping students understand sometimes the answers aren't good. Sometimes they are, right? And actually, I could kind of look through here and see what some of the answers are, right? But again, ultimately, what I'm doing here is I would submit the assignment. Okay. Questions? Rick, anything should I look through here or is there anything specific?
No, yeah, I think so far, I don't see any questions in the chat.
You want to do your dolphin?
I want to do my dolphin. Well, we have 11 minutes.
Oh, 11 minutes. Okay. Very
So,
inspiring to build interactive AI tools. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. We're pretty excited ourselves about this. Also a bit nervous. We've definitely had some technical challenges, not related to what Rick's done, but just the integration in the campus level has been a real challenge. I'm not going to lie, and it continues to be, but this is because campuses infrastructures aren't used to faculty creating these types of things. We are used to third parties doing them, but internally when that happens, they aren't quite as understanding, but we're getting them on board. We're trying to help them understand. And you're part of the reason my motivation for doing this talk is actually to show the campus that there is some interest in something like this, right? And by the way, somebody's going to create this. So somebody and probably are going to make some money on it. But we wanted to show that we believe it's kind of proof of concept, but it's now beyond proof of concept, it's actually production, right? Would you talk about the yeah, okay. So, because we work under a grant, right, for this product, and I'm not gonna lie, Rick and I have been paid to do this. We are grateful. We are so grateful. Outside of what we already do, we were paid to do this. And so, but I think the grant was really just intended for, and this is a good thing to help faculty think about tools and how to use these AI tools. And based on, and I'm gonna probably beat my chest a little bit here, but based on the experience Rick and I bring to this, and Rick and I are a great team. I'm not gonna lie. Rick is fun to work with. We work well together. We knew each other before this. So we kind of quickly iterated and saw something we could create. And when we delivered it to the campus, it kind of, in a way, like they couldn't quite wrap their head around this. And then we told them how we did it and how we wanted to do it, and they put a few roadblocks. But we're geeks. We jumped over those. We jumped over. We worked around them. We created a product that has, in our opinions, some improvements that could be made had they had more buy-in. But I think this is just the nature of infrastructure and IT. And I don't blame them. I mean, they're concerned of security. They're worried that we're opening up a hole that is going to allow things in. I totally get that, right? So we're on the leading edge. I'm okay with that. I feel like I work for both a huge institution and a startup at the same time. So I don't know if that answers the question.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I do like the idea that, you could essentially, put together these pieces, right? When Shelley mentioned about like, I won't have the integration, but I can have the students save their interaction. I think that's really cool because, yeah, you could essentially, I shared a Perplexity link recently. People can add chat to that and then share that link. So you could even have your students like, you know, complete some kind of chat on Perplexity or like start a chat and then have them continue that chat. And then you can have that student submit that link. So it's essentially kind of like, our application, but kind of with your own like bits and pieces to put it together, if that makes sense.
We're at 8 after, so we're running low on time. But I'd love to answer any other questions. Or again, if you're not able to go to the site and go to the. And by the way, we also provided to where you could interact with the what is Gen AI, so you could play with it, see how it interacts. But remember, that's an early version of our app. And that version didn't have the guardrails that over time I created through the prompt crafting process. We could talk about that. How much better. it's like anything else. The more you do something, the better you get at it. And writing these prompts has really taught me, I don't want to call it prompt engineering, and maybe it is, but just how to craft these things to bend, I'm going to say it again, to bend the AI into what I want it to do. Okay. But students, and it's so funny, I was reading feedback this morning because my students now in all my online classes are seeing these assignments, and I'm getting mostly positive feedback. And they're like, they love because again, the interaction helps them learn. The idea of what we're all doing here, the student learning outcome, is to be able to give them, here's the content, here's an assignment. Now, let's see how well you translated that by giving you a review, because we all like to do reviews. We know they're good. We know students, depending on what level of review we do, but imagine they can interact at at their own level with these reviews. What has been the pushback on the negative comments? You said mostly positive, so I'm curious. Yeah, so okay, one interesting comment I got, and this is not negative, but it was that it gave, because here, remember me talking about that it will give them the answer. Well, some students were like, they didn't like that it gave them the answer. They actually wanted to do the interaction, right? So that was one. The other one early on was more around some of the ways we were handling the assignment submission and browsers. I mean, there were definitely some issues there. Right
Mhm.
now, we have some issues with our CBC, which is our virtual campus. Those students have the way the campus and the statewide has set them up has broken our app. And it's not because of us, it's because of the way they set them up. And we're hoping there's a solution soon for that. The students themselves were matter of fact, one of the really good feedbacks I got this morning, and this is one I will probably implement. One of the students said, they loved the idea that you, like I showed, didn't have to give the full correct answer, but they said instead of giving them a question, maybe stop and allow them to ask a follow-up question to that answer they gave or to the question. And I'm going to try to implement this. I'm interested to see what happens when I do this, because I think, again, as that context, as the chat goes further, right, it loses some of the context window, we call it, because there's what we call RAG and there's what we call a context window, right? So we're just using the context window. We're not using RAG. So from the student's perspective, one of them said, it's like they get nervous about tests, but in their feedback, they kept going on, and they said by the end, it actually made them less nervous. So they felt like this was a test. One student said it's worth 100 points, but I only make it worth 5% of their grade. And once they realized that and that they were interacting, they became more comfortable. And again, we want them to interact with this content.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if you mentioned about like the testimonials or the student feedback on the
Oh
section.
yeah, there is a place on the site. I have some feedback from last semester. We need to update that, and we just didn't get to it with some feedback we're getting right now.
Yeah, because I was just kind of curious about that. But
Yeah.
um, I'm trying to think about like when you said mostly positive, like what are some, what do the students share as challenges? I think some students like wrapping their heads around what is chat and how to use the chat, because like the way that we created this product before, we actually had, those steps show up in the chat, and some students would be kind of confused, like, I don't understand, is that me? But that's not me. These are chats that you created for me. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of students and even teachers, thinking about how to create these assignments, like, we didn't have enough time to kind of say like, hey, you want to create your own? Maybe what are some good ideas with that? But it's learning about AI and like trying to use this product or any of the products to teach in the classroom. There's a lot of like, I think we talked about this before. Like there's a lot of like metacognition. There's a lot of thinking about teaching, about learning, if that makes any sense.
Mm.
And so I think when you mentioned negative, I wanted to kind of talk about like, well, the challenge of that too, right? Like the challenge of wrapping your head around using AI, for learning, or just using AI in general, right? And trying to get around how to use chat, right? when we used the guided chat application, like, when you see the little buttons there, that was something that I found useful with a lot of hackathons I did in San Francisco. So, the flavor that we're using here has more of a guided approach to kind of guide the students to kind of learn how to chat at the same time, right? Like, so some of my students have never used AI. I'm also trying to incorporate some assessment in my class that I taught recently. I did a lot of I did pre-test, post-test, and like, students like thoughts about AI, how they felt about it before, how they feel about it now, stuff like that. And I think that's, a lot of that's important as well to, to kind of put all that together and synthesize like how people are learning with that.
Great comments. So true. So true. Well, we're at the end, at least of our time, but we don't, Rick and I don't have to head off anywhere, but some of you may, but we're willing to hang out and answer any questions. Matter of fact, turn on your mics or if you want, if there's something specific. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thank you, Susie. Oh, thanks. Thanks for the nice session. Thank you. This was fun for us. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Review us, please. Give us your feedback. Very awesome and inspirational. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.